The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Road to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy channel. It's that time of the month. We've got new balls, so we're going to chat about them. We've got the Storm Infinite Physix, and we have the Idol Cosmos from Rotogrip. As Chris is bowling the US Open, I thought that I would do something a little different this month. So we've brought in one of the OGs of YouTube ball reviews. Maybe you can give us some tips on how we can make our reviews a little better and take them up to the next level. We have Mr. Luke Rosdahl. Hello, mate. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on?
So you are one of the OGs of the YouTube Storm ball reviews, I think.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that I started in 2015, and there wasn't a whole lot of ball reviews going on. It kind of started as something I was in a pro shop, and back then people would come in and say, "Hey, well, I'm interested in this new ball, but all I can find is 500 rev rates hooking everything from Fifth Arrow, and there's rock music, so I don't know what's going on." And so I tried to take more of a pro shop approach to it, and even being a nobody, it kind of caught on just from taking that angle to it rather than just trying to move product.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like you're in a position where you can sort of like, for want of a polite way, speak to the common man. Mm-hmm. You're able to, you're not, you don't hold back when you don't like a product. I think people appreciate that. And I think that we're quite fortunate with Storm, because I don't think there are many that we get in that we can't really see a use case for. For me, I tend to have the view a lot of the times that it's more a ball that doesn't fit in a gap that I need, rather than it's not a ball that doesn't fit in a gap, period. Talk a little bit about your transformation, for want of a better description. You were a right-handed bowler, now you're a left-handed bowler. Is it true they're always easier on the left?
Obviously, being a lefty now, I'm going to say absolutely not. But the thing that really got me, it was a shoulder injury is what happened. Is I got my start pretty late. I bowled for a couple of years when I was like 11 or 12 or something, and I didn't start again until after high school. And so I didn't bowl in college. I only bowled like locally. I'm from Topeka, Kansas, which is where Chris is originally from, actually. And I got into the pro shop pretty quick, and so I just never really got out. And people think you get into the industry and you bowl a lot. When you're on the industry side of things, you actually don't bowl a lot. You bowl a whole lot less because you're working when everybody else is bowling. But I had a shoulder injury not too far into really starting back up bowling again, and so I fought with it for a while. And I've been left-handed before. I switched for a couple of years, but I always wanted to be right-handed. But this last chance that I gave it, it just didn't work out. It hurt all the time. My mechanics suffered, whatever else. And so I'm like, I'm just going to make the switch and do it. And it really has surprised me just exactly how different it is. People talk about, two-handers are so much different from one-handers that they need to be in their own division and whatever else. Well, I think that lefty and righty, I think that's a bigger difference than two-handed, because the two-handed righties, they still have to deal with transition. They still have to deal with a lot of the same things, albeit in a different way. Though it's a completely different game, and I just can't mirror as much stuff as I thought I'd have to. So ball selection, the way I play the lanes, layout, surfaces, everything, I'm having to relearn a bunch of stuff. So it's actually been quite a bit more challenging.
Yeah, definitely. If you're a right-hander, you've got to be better on the burn, and if you're a lefty, you've definitely got to be better on the fresh. For just a clip notes, I guess. John, one of our loyal listeners, viewers, says Luke does it right, credible, honest, and knows the product in depth. Absolutely an asset to the brands of Storm. So that's very nice.
Yeah.
Patrick, yeah, we've got. It was unfortunate timing because we only really want to talk about these two right now, because we can't even buy these two. and some of the balls that Storm released notes on, I guess, or whatever, teasers, aren't out till almost September. I think the last one's September. So we're going to focus on these two. These are out in a couple of weeks, July the 8th, I believe. Luke, you've done your videos. We've done Fun Story. I got the wrong weight of balls. That's why there's no videos for me yet. I only got my balls on Sunday. My wife actually got them, but then she had a wrist injury. So it's been a bit of a shit show on my side of it. So on our channel, we've got Chris throwing the Cosmos, and we've got Ryan throwing the Infinite Physix. I've got the worst part of the job of being a YouTuber is doing the content, and I've got about 6 videos worth of stuff to edit, and I hate it with a strong passion. Because the slightly better you get at it, the more annoyed you get about it when you make a mistake. And then those mistakes take way too long to fix, and it just is irritating. So I think we're going to start with the Infinite Physix.
Okay.
I'm just going to be straight out there. I love this ball. I've used it for about 3 games, I would say. And I think I've struck about 85% of the time. For me, it's going to be a really good piece off my reality. The numbers are kind of similar. RGs and diffs and everything else. I use the reality quite a bit. That's my go-to strong ball. I don't know about what you saw, but I kind of see it as being like a pretty good ball off the reality.
Yeah, and I think it's the Physix line. This is a little bit different of a look for me. It's a little bit more. It's a little bit rounder and more continuous for both me and my wife than the Physix line has kind of been. They've always kind of been familiar to the reality line, where they kind of want to go a little forward off the end of the pattern. This one's very round and continuous for both of us, but yeah, it's going to be a good play with the reality, depending on what you do with the surfaces, of course, too. I mean, that's an important part of it. But offering a shape complement in kind of a similar hooking zone. I don't think it's quite as strong as the reality, but it does kind of offer a little bit of a different shape.
Yeah, real quick on the surface thing. It isn't half confusing right now with 4,000 Abralon and 4K fast. I mean, I have an old man who I do videos with, and he can't stop saying 4K fast, even when it's 4,000. So
I think that's the same thing. So yeah, it's what's on everybody's brain right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really into the 4K fast name. I think it's made it more confusing. And on top of that, I haven't really seen a great deal of difference between the 4,000 Abralon and the 4K fast when I see the balls. Like, I honestly couldn't tell you which one was which, because sometimes I have a 4,000 Abralon that's almost shinier than a 4K fast, and then vice versa. So I don't know. I understand that it's a necessary evil at the minute. It's just making it a little bit confusing with the lingo. Anyway, I clipped together a few of my shots that I've recorded with the Infinite Physix. I was wearing a microphone, and I did this in the 10 minutes from getting back from dropping my son off to starting the show. So if you hear random bits of audio, it is what it is. That's everything. There we go. So those last couple of shots were with my shiny reality. I had the same layout on them. I had a 5-inch pin, a 4-inch mass bias, and a 2-inch buffer. That's one of the like stronger layouts that I've kind of liked the look of. For me, the Infinite Physics had a longer breakpoint window than the Reality did. My Reality is shiny, and it kind of, I like it because I can get that sharper motion then forward.
Yeah.
The Infinite Physics is definitely cleaner, but it's like you were talking about, it's much more rounded. I feel like I could be a little more how can I put this? I could make a lot of difference with my hand with that stronger layout than I could with the Reality. If I get around this one, I can definitely see it come, like go a little further and then come around the corner a little harder. Whereas the Reality, yeah, sometimes it makes it just hook more, and other times yeah, not so much. We got a couple of questions in the chat. While you're answering those, I will find the link to your video and we can put that up and have a chat about it. Travis says, how does this react to the proton physics?
Yeah, I do feature a comparison in my review with my wife between the Proton and the Infinite. They're slightly different shapes. I think that the Proton is more of an arc. It's a little bit more forward than this, where this is kind of again like a rounder and more continuous shape. The Proton, especially at the box surface, is going to be stronger. You know, if you put them at the same surface. This is a slightly weaker cover stock because Proton has the NEX cover. This is the REX cover, which is NEX with a little bit of R2S added to kind of make it a little bit cleaner and sharper, I think. And the Proton is going to be the stronger, earlier, but smoother ball versus this. But like I said, there's a little bit of a shape difference there too.
Yeah. Chris is actually in the chat. He said, "You guys keep at this. You can make a career of it." Jeff says he wants more random bits of audio. Yeah, at least I didn't swear in that one.
Yeah, outtakes. People want the outtakes.
Luke doesn't slide lefty. Did you slide righty?
Yes, and I actually slide quite a bit on. I use a 10 sole and a 7 heel, and I don't slide a bit lefty. So, but I got used to bowling lefty. It was kind of a thing that I just did to begin with. I had a right-handed pair of shoes back when they made just righty and lefty pairs of shoes. And so barring buying another pair of shoes to try out the lefty thing, I just walked up there and kind of tottered up there and threw it slow. And so I just got used to planting. Well, now when I do it, I don't ever have approach issues. I don't have knee, hip, whatever else from like, oh crap, these are, you know, sticky or they're sliding a bunch. And so it's actually kind of just been a happy accident, really.
So somebody was just saying you wear tennis shoes when you bowl. They like the orange ones.
Yeah. I found these bright orange, these Under Armour shoes, and so I got to the point where I didn't really need. I had a pad fail, and rather than buy another pad, I thought, well, I don't actually need bowling shoes to bowl with. I'll just bowl with a pair of tennis shoes on. And as long as they're bowling specific tennis shoes, like I thought I was going to catch flack for them at nationals, like somebody was going to, some staff member was going to say something, but they really don't, you know, as long as you bring them in. I put the shoe cover on the shoe. People always kind of make fun of me about that, having it's a pair of tennis shoes, you got a shoe cover on it. But
yeah, that is kind of funny.
Yeah, but I don't want to step at anything, you know.
No, makes perfect sense.
And yeah, so I don't want to screw it up for anybody else, but yeah, it is kind of a funny look.
Let me see if I can get this running because this is always fun.
Yeah.
So I've muted the audio off. So direct me if you would want some different shots. But this is your wife bowling, correct?
Yep.
So to me, I was kind of shocked having watched her throw a few shots. Let me just spin back a little bit. Having watched her throw a few shots in the past, I was quite impressed at how much this kept coming around the corner for her.
Yeah. Usually that's the big thing. She doesn't throw a lot of ASIMs because they make her get left, but then they tend to quit.
Yeah, my wife has kind of a different role, but kind of the same issue. And when Tina threw this one, I drilled her with kind of a similar layout to what I used, actually, a shorter pin buffer. I've been chatting with Sean Ryan a little bit about it, and for her, that was pretty useful. So here's you. I'm assuming that you do most of your ball reviews on the house shot.
Yeah, and we've actually kind of transitioned that a little bit. I'm bowling on something tougher, but normally, I mean, that's what most people bowl on. That's what most people want to watch a ball review for. But then you have the people that ask about the sport conditions, and so I thought, well, I can have her because she's got one layout that she likes, and it is kind of funny that we put a different layout on it, and it just doesn't work. But so if it doesn't look good, if a ball doesn't look good for her with this layout on this pattern, it's not going to look any better anywhere else with anything else. I mean, we've been through that. I've done this for a while, and we've been through there and over it. And so this is just the best thing. So I figured we're going to make her the control, because when people see a ball review, they're going to get on you about, well, what about the same surface, or what about having the same layout? You can't compare this ball to this ball if they don't have the same layout on it. And so we kind of use her as the control. But the other thing is we have to use these balls after we get done doing the review for them. We're not just burning them for a ball review and then, chucking them in a dumpster. So
yeah, exactly.
So it works out both for us because she really likes that layout. It works out for the videos so we can have consistency from time to time, but I'm still kind of figuring out layouts. I've got a few locked in, but if I want to do something different with a ball, then that allows me the freedom to do that, but also to show something different because we've already got her as the control. Everything's the same. She's on the same pattern, same layout, whatever else. So it gives me a little bit of freedom to still try some things or do some different things. Plus, I'm going to be on sport patterns exclusively for now. So that kind of gives a little bit of everything all the way around.
Yeah, I feel like for me, the problem with doing a sport pattern is, A, the ball review takes way longer.
Yep.
B, I just don't particularly like what I get out of it, because if I bowl on a sport pattern and you bowl on a sport pattern, like, we're looking for completely different things. Like, if I go in the bowling center and ask for Scorpion, like, you might get 47 feet. I might get 42 feet.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, I understand that all the house shots are different, but I just feel like on the house shot, it gives people a better idea of what they're going to see out of the ball. Here's an interesting question, because I never really use this ball very much. What did you see in comparison, the Infinite and the Nova?
The Nova has got, and I put a slide up here in a second that shows the cover core charts. The Nova has a similar strength of core, like the ignition core. If you look at the numbers, it's fairly similar. But this is R2X hybrid that's on the Nova, which is a lot weaker. I mean, R2X is just barely stronger than R2S. That's on like the High Road and the High Road Pearl, and it was on the Astrophysics, stuff like that. So it's a lot cleaner cover. It doesn't get the dig. It doesn't get started up quite as early. And so even though they look kind of somewhat similar on a house shot, and that's one of the things, is everybody wants to see stuff on a house shot, but stuff kind of tends to run together. And when you're trying
100%.
When you're trying to explain the differences and what the balls actually do, yeah, there's the chart right there. So the Infinite, this cover is so much stronger than the Nova. So on a house shot, they're going to run together a little bit, but I try to explain as much as I can from a pro shot point of view, but it's hard to explain when they look somewhat similar on camera and you're feeling such a big, so much bigger of a difference than there actually is, or that you can actually see. And that's what the sport pattern thing too is. I was talking to Packy about this, and he was asking me some stuff a couple of years ago, and I said, people want to see stuff on sport patterns. He's like, well, it's a good thing that there's only like 1,000 different sport patterns out there. And so ball reaction tends to look fairly similar too. I mean, there's a little bit of, there's a little bit more OB, there's a little bit, less forgiveness overall, but the ball reaction doesn't tend to look very different unless you use a very different sport pattern. And at that point, you kind of lose what you're going after anyway. So
somebody just asked, is that chart on the website?
No, they don't publish it on the website for some reason. They kind of put it out there on Facebook and something like that. You just kind of have to watch for them to drop it, because they don't actually have it published anywhere. And that's the other challenge of it too, because I tend to look at it from a pro shop point of view. And so I like digging into the details and the technical stuff. And, why is a Pearl Infinite Physics so much different from a Pearl Astrophysics? Well, it's the cover stock formula. So
one thing about just quickly about that, you were speaking a little bit about this ball and about the Nova. Like, for me anyway, in the small times that I'd use the Nova, the thing that I found is R2X when it's dull is really early.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like this cover stock is as early. That's the weird part for me. But once they get a little shinier, I feel like the Nova almost doesn't look at all.
Yeah.
So that's the part that's really difficult. Like, it depends. Because if we had both in a shinier finish, then for me, the Infinite Physics is going to hook miles more than the Nova.
Yeah.
But if I put them at 500, I would see the Nova as being the stronger ball because I feel like it would hit the lane and almost hook immediately. Yeah. So that's the other part of it that I find very challenging sometimes with like what I see out of the ball and where I would use the ball. Mm-hmm. That's pretty challenging for me anyway. Let's just have a quick. We've got a couple of people who have been asking questions. Chris says, put 4,000 watt on the Infinite this morning. Reminds me much more of the OG Reality. Long continuous window, but gets through the front much easier. We were talking about that last night. I started. I'm just going to pause this a second because I've got a couple of questions about this.
Yeah.
And I said to Chris that he needed to figure out how to use his Infinite because it's got potential to be the GOAT. Mm-hmm. So we'll quickly check in to see how he did, but I imagine it wasn't too bad. Ball 300 says, how many promotions do you have stashed? I'd like to think that you like the promotion because you saw me strike with it because you never saw Belmont strike with it.
Yeah.
We only have 10 promotions left, says Angel.
We're down to 10. It was 17 at one point, I think. That's the
hey Nico, how's it going? I bet Nico's excited. Nico's like the biggest PWBA fan there is.
Yeah.
Mark Anderson saying future booth employee, talking about you, Luke.
Yeah.
He's trying to beat you up to get out there. Angel says we've probably had about 50 of them come through our house.
Yeah, very misunderstood ball.
Gaz says, pay attention, Stu. This is a ball review masterclass. James is talking about my shot on Instagram yesterday. I threw one between my legs.
Oh, yeah.
Barnes says he had 146 over. Self-correction stopped him from being 200 over. So this is one of the parts where I watched your ball review because I'm a bowling nerd, and I disagree.
Okay.
So you were talking about
makes sense. So yeah. Tell me what
you were talking about the dart code. And you were basically of the opinion that the dart code was smoother.
Yeah, for me, it's earlier and smoother.
I think it's more responsive, which then makes it go forward. I don't think it's smoother at all. I think the dart code's one of the least smooth balls we own.
Yeah.
So when it's shiny, the dart code for me is the problem I find is I think that the dart code core is so strong that the difference between like a 5.5 inch pin and a 5 inch pin is the most ridiculous amount of difference ever. And if you go from a 5 inch pin to a 4.5 inch pin, for anybody who's got a rev rate over probably like 350, the ball's almost unusable because it flares like the entire ball.
Yeah.
So I really do think that it really depends on the layouts as to what you see out of the dart code. I feel like the dart code can go from, for me anyway, from anything from skid snap to burn and bail in a 1 inch pin difference. So that's what I saw out of it. I feel like the that cover that's on those on the Infinite, and on that, I felt like it doesn't even resemble the same cover for me. So anyway, as we're in a court of law, what's your rebuttal to that, Rosdahl?
Well, no, that's the thing is it's hard to capture in ball reviews sometimes the amount of differences that there are in bowling. Like one of the big things for me that I don't think people give enough credit to is lane surface. I mean, if you're bowling on like 25-year-old HPLs or something versus being on the SPL, the new SPLs at HQ, huge difference. You're going to see a bunch of difference. And I kind of joke with some friends that are like, if the ball looks good at HQ, we'll see what happens in the real world. But if it looks like absolute garbage, it's probably going to be pretty good. Something like the Rubicon UC2. If you go back and watch that review, it just kind of wiggles and, bails and does all kinds of weird stuff at HQ, but you get it out in the real world and it's pretty good. So, and again, like you were saying, I had this problem with or not this problem, but kind of a similar thing with the Infinite Fire, or not the Infinite. I'm thinking of the Intense Fire. Yeah, the Intense Fire a couple of years ago, because even just having the same val number, the same pin buffer on that, I just went from pin up to pin, or I guess it'd be a different pin buffer, but I had the same pin position, the first two numbers were the same. The pin buffer it went from basically pin up to pin down.
Yeah.
But it was a totally different ball for me. The one that I had pin up was actually longer and smoother, and the one that I went pin down on for some reason was just all kinds of shape and aggression and whatever else, which doesn't really jive with.
I guess that the top one was just burning up, for one of the better descriptions. So
yeah.
Okay, so if we were to surmise the infinite physics, I'll go first. I see the infinite physics for me maybe replacing my shiny reality if I'm in like an 8-ball Arsenal type scenario. In a 15 plus driving the truck, I'm going to take both. But I see it fitting that gap in my bag as the second ball off the cab rank. So it would be the reality. And then in the past, it's been the X1 or it's been a shiny reality. And then if we're bowling on something shorter, then maybe the proton instead of the reality. But generally, it would be the reality. Then it would be this one. And then I would go into, depending on what I was looking for, phase 2 or Zen. If I was needing something a little quicker, then it would be the Zen. So that would be the gap I kind of see it fitting in. It would be the last of my smoother asim balls. So it like I say, for me, it's a very versatile piece. I feel like slower speed players will probably be able to use it as their strongest ball. Higher rev players will see this as a good option for me anyway, if they're bowling on places that don't have the best lane surfaces and they want something stronger, whereas reality or proton physics just might burn up, especially gem as well. The gem is like, like that can burn up real fast because it's so strong. So that's kind of where I see it fitting. What do you think?
Yeah, I see it the same place. It's a step down from, or a half a step down at least from the big stuff like the gem, the reality, proton, stuff like that. But that's something I noted when my wife was throwing it, is because she can't throw any of that strong stuff. I mean, the Nova's been the top of her bag just because she has slower speed and kind of a more balanced speed and rev rate. But this cover is actually clean enough and it's round enough down lane to where she can at least make it work for a game and a half or something like that. But this also offers quite a bit of versatility kind of at the top end of a bag, because you can play several different shapes with it. Like you were saying, you can do different things with your hand. And I think that the rounder shape actually gives you the ability to do like fallback and maybe splash them. You know, it's not about having that perfect pocket shot all the time. It's just about getting all the pins down into the pit. And I think with a rounder shape, it kind of gives you that option where you can jam it, you can splash them, you can play a bunch of lane. Like this one, I imagine you can just, fire a dart right up second arrow, or you can bend it from fifth arrow if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really versatile. All right, we're going to have a word from one of our sponsors, and then we'll be back with the Idol Cosmos. Okay, so we are back. We have the latest of the Idol range. Idol Cosmos. It is a same weight block. We have some nano in the cover, correct, Luke?
Yeah, the Extreme Tracks is kind of a riff on Storm's NEX. Roto does this sometimes with some of the formulas, like Microtracks is very similar to NRG. Extreme Tracks is very similar to NEX. It was on the Axiom, Proton, whatever else. But Schlim always kind of tweaks things so that you don't have the same look across everything. He takes them and kind of mixes them up. But it's very similar to NEX.
I was excited about it because I think that the Idol worked. The original Idol worked because it was super cover strong.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like the Idol Pearl that much. I didn't really have almost any use personally for the synergy. Barnes loves it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the synergy wasn't really, it just didn't really float my boat.
It's really clean.
I don't really know about the Helios. The Helios was kind of one of those balls that kind of got lost in the mix. It either looked fantastic or awful. It was like, it was a weird ball. Like it's either I don't know. It's either great or it's just not in play at all, which is kind of useful when you're driving, not very useful when you fly to nationals.
Yeah.
So I was kind of excited to get the Cosmos, but I didn't really want a dull ball in this gap.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately polished mine, just because I wanted a shiny ball in that gap. Like, so here's what mine looks like. I'm super excited by this reaction as well as the infinite physics. It does sound like a little bit of a I'm kissing ass this month, but I'm super happy by the two balls this month.
Yeah.
So here we go. Balls. I already had. Man, it really. Oh, Bon. Well, that one's good. Well, that's just me. So there we have it. That was the phase 2 at the end. We were born on the house shot, of course. I was just, like I say, that was my kind of first look video. I like this ball shiny. I've subsequently got my video ball. It was very odd. I had a staff ball and I had a video ball. It's a bit strange, but anyway, that was my that was my staff ball. I shined it. I used it. I subsequently drilled another ball, same layout, left it dull. Felt like that they complemented each other okay, but I didn't really need the dull one because I have the phase 2. I have the Zen, which is a little smoother for me. I just didn't really need a dull one in that gap. So I'm going to leave that one dull because it's got the same layout, but I kind of did it more for videos to see the comparison. One thing that I did note, when I shined it, I don't really think it hooked that much less. Mm-hmm. Like overall, it was way more responsive. But like I say, I really like this ball shiny. I felt like it was special shiny. I just think for me, when it was dull, it was good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that the Zen is going to be a ball that I ever leave with the 4K fast finish on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to polish that as soon as I get one. As soon as I get another one back in. So there's just some balls for me that fit in my range better, shinier than they do dull. pearl balls. If I'm gonna have a dull pearl ball, it's probably gonna be asymmetrical.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it fit for me. What did you? Of course, I'm an idiot, and I shut down the window that I had when I stopped. What did you kind of see out of it, and do you kind of see what I'm saying about the shine? And have you shined one yet?
Yeah, we haven't shined it yet. Generally, I like letting stuff lane shine because when I polish stuff, it kind of gives it that very hard edge that can make it a little inconsistent. And so I like letting them just shine up. If I want to dull, I'll dull it back down. But I don't put polish on a whole lot.
Oh, you're one of those people.
Yes, I'm one of those people. I don't like. Well, now I do really like factory shine, which is kind of interesting. I think the factory shine got a little out of control the last year or something when the synergy showed up, and I could see myself in it, and I think that they were a little too shiny. But I do like the 4K finishes. But
I think the thing for me, the shine is a little easier to replicate.
Mm-hmm.
So lane shine is constantly in a state of change, and it's also it's more opinion based rather than fact based, for want of a better description. So I don't like it because I don't really know what the surface is. I mean, realistically, you never know what the surface is because it's constantly changing. But for me, I like to polish it and then take like a Scotch-Brite pad and like gently just put a couple of lines in it. Like not even like if I do that and I throw it one shot, you wouldn't know I'd hit it with the Scotch-Brite pad. That kind of like just like basically just take that residue off the top. And that's kind of what I did with the factory shine. So that's why I like it. I really think that if you put a little bit of polish on it, do it for me. Try it. And then I think it'll really open your eyes because I think that ball it's really special. Like it's like for me, it's a less responsive idle pearl. So the idle pearl for me got forward very quickly because I tend to have a roll that although it gets through the front is quite forward down the lane.
Yeah.
And for me, the idle pearl, especially in 16, I threw a couple in 15 and I found like it came around the corner a little more continuously. But in 16, it got very forward. This doesn't really do that from what I've seen so far. And that's what I really like about it. Let me just quickly share your video up. Do you have a URL for yours? Are you like youtube.com/Luke Rosdahl or?
Yeah, that's what my channel is.
Okay. So I always laugh at Brad and Kyle because they have like youtube.com/YTZV.
Yeah, they don't have their own.
And I'm just like, how if you guys got 130,000 subs and you don't have your own URL?
Yeah, it's basic stuff. It's easy to do.
Yeah. Well, it's also like, why?
Yeah.
Like
branding, marketing guys, come on.
They literally direct people to their YouTube channel by going, just Google Brad and Kyle on YouTube, you'll find us. I'm like, oh my God, dude, come on.
Yeah.
So Angel's back on the house shot.
Yep.
What did she think?
She really likes it because she likes stuff in this with this general shape. She loves everything IQ. She likes the hustles quite a bit. She likes some of the bigger stuff. She's actually got one of the overseas green idols, and so she likes symmetric stuff. The very low RG symmetric stuff. It really doesn't matter what the differential is. If it's a low RG symmetric ball, she's probably going to like it. But she likes this general IQ idol type of IQ shape that's just really round and kind of continuous throughout the whole lane. Now the Cosmos has it's a very, very strong cover. And so I think that's why it looks better with shine on it. And it was interesting, this video that we filmed stuff and she had trouble lining up with it. She was really excited for it. She loves green besides that. I mean, so she was really excited, but she threw like 10 shots and was I could see her kind of getting disappointed because it hooked too much one time, then it'd be lazy and pukey and then whatever else. But as soon as she started just letting the ball go, just, getting it clean off of her hands, because of how smooth and how kind of round it is, it kind of fakes you out. And you'd think, okay, well, if it's smooth and round, it's getting a little lazy. I need to roll it more. I need to slow the speed down or whatever. And that's the opposite of what you need to do with this, with this strength of a cover. And so I think with either just getting it off your hand cleaner, or like you said, adding the polish to it, that's going to get it down lane further so it doesn't react quite as early. So light works quite a bit.
Just got a couple of quick questions to answer. Jeremy, I used Extra Shine. I actually ordered some Step 2 this time to experiment with that. The Extra Shine's actually created exactly what I wanted. So when I get some Step 2, I'll have a look at that and see what that does. But like I say, the Extra Shine, as long as I don't lean on the spinner too hard, I don't want the spinner smoking Sean Ryan style. Whenever we end up bowling the US Open, they have one pattern that's a bit of a circus. Sean's always shining the shit out of things. And he like if the ball return isn't smoking, his hand isn't like on fire, he's disappointed. Gabriel says, do you use the same layout for every piece, or do you have certain layouts for certain RG pieces?
Angel, like we were talking earlier, Angel uses the same layout for everything. Generally, I go stronger on symmetric balls, so I like a lot of 4-inch pins, and it doesn't really even matter what I just need so much different shapes on the left side. I really need to control that mid lane because we don't have track friction over there, and that's been the thing that's thrown me for the biggest loop, is just not having kind of that mid lane consistency. So I tend to favor bigger layouts. 4x4x2 is I think what I do on most of my symmetric stuff, and then I kind of split the gap on the asymmetric stuff. It's 4 3/4 by 3.5 by 3.5 is kind of what I do, and that puts the pin in my ring finger, and so it splits the gap between either pin up or pin down. And that's mostly what I use, but I will do some like 5-inch pin down stuff on some symmetrics, depending on, because I don't want everything to overlap that much. If I get into balls themselves that overlap, then I'll tend to mix some stuff up. But generally, I stick with those couple layouts.
Okay. Barry says, I love the Helios. And with this coming up, what did Angel see as the difference?
The Cosmos is longer and the shape down lane is about the same, but I think the Cosmos is a little bit more consistent. It's really funny with this, like you were saying earlier, that I was actually getting back to that on the Helios, is that it's either really good or it's really bad. And it's that cover wants to hook a bunch, but it also wants to be kind of sharp down lane. But as soon as you trust it to be sharp, then it's really round and slow. And so it really depends on the pattern and the conditions and the lane surface and a bunch of different things. So like you said, it can be amazing or it can just be a paperweight.
Yeah. I actually did a video because I actually had a Helios kicking around on the bench that I hadn't drilled, and I'm probably not going to use it.
Yeah.
So I drilled it the same, and I did a video where I shot one game alternately throwing that and the Cosmos. For me, the Helios was a good 2 or 3 feet earlier, and it definitely got way more forward than the Cosmos did, which is kind of agreeing with what you were saying. The thing for me about the Helios is a little bit like the ball we were talking, the Nova. I feel like the difference between it being dull and it being like lane shined a little bit is drastic in how much it hooks. I think it really needs to have that early hook. Yeah. So if it's really dull, it hooks miles. And once that kind of comes off it, it hooks a lot less. So
yeah, go ahead.
That like I say, that makes it a little difficult to use it for more than a couple of games, because obviously you can never really keep that dull surface on it for very long.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I saw it fitting. So if you like your Helios, just be a little bit careful about the surface prep between the Cosmos and the Helios. Try and keep them somewhat similar. Like, don't have them like opposites. So the Cosmos is going to be the ball that's a little cleaner. So don't have that one be duller than the Helios. Otherwise, you're going to have anarchy in the ranks.
Yeah, and that's kind of along the lines where I was going with it too. Is that, and I did mention in the video that the big difference for us is that the Cosmos is quite a bit later than the Helios. I didn't really see any big differences between lane play, general shape, whatever else. But yeah, the Helios is quite a bit earlier than the Cosmos, and so yeah, you want to kind of keep them in in that range where you got the Helios and then you got the Cosmos complementing it. Because again, that's the thing that the 4K fast, or the 4000 in this case, and the difference between that is that with that just straight 4000, it's a 500 pad, and then they put 4000 on top of that. With 4K fast, they stair step it, so they go 500, 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000 to make it a smoother surface. Now, of course, like you said, depending on where they're at in the cycle of replacing their pads at HQ, you could get you could get a 4K fastball that looks duller than the 4000, or you can get whatever else. But
it's just a little challenging at the minute, I think.
Yeah.
How did you see that ball off, say, because you obviously left it dull. How did you see that in your mind? You didn't throw it on the video, but in your mind, off the phase 2,
the Cosmos versus the phase 2.
Yeah, with that duller box finish.
Yeah, it's more of a different shape. I think the phase 2 is almost even a little bit. I don't know. This is very interesting too, because the phase 2 can be fairly quick, but it can also be really smooth and blendy too. Again, I think depending on the surface prep. But for me, I think that out of box, just comparing them each out of box, the phase 2 is actually a little bit more defined. It's not necessarily sharper, but you can see when it stops going one way and makes its turn and goes the other way, where the Cosmos just kind of blends it. I think the phase 2 might dig a little bit more. But sometimes the shapes can make it really tricky.
Yeah, I also feel like I've had phase 2s that are done because it's been in the line for so long.
Yeah,
it's really difficult for them to all be identical. It's a bit like the the high road.
Yeah.
The other thing as well is like just so people are aware, Luke has much more solid guidelines, I guess, on his ball reviews, whereas we probably have them, but we've never really been told that we have to. So Luke's only really supposed to compare brand with brand, right?
Yeah.
We kind of, because we're rebels, I guess. But we don't really have someone who tells us that, gets on us about that. So we try to see where it would fit in just mine and Chris's bag as a general thing. So when I'm saying to Luke about the phase 2, he'd have no reason to throw it at the same time because he can't use that in the video.
I do kind of get around that. I in the review, I kind of stick within the brand, but that's why I do afterwards. I just like, okay, well, people want to see this ball versus this ball, so it doesn't make sense in a video to compare this ball to something else that may or may not make sense, but it's in the same line. So whatever. So after the fact, then I'm like, okay, now we're going to compare this. So I compared the Infinite to the Altered because people wanted to check that out. And
yeah.
Then I did this one with the Zen and the Zen Soul. And then I'm going to do a Build-A-Bag video on release day, by which point everybody's already forgotten about these in favor of everything else they just announced. But
yeah. So that's an interesting question. Where did you see the Infinite in comparison to the Altered?
The Altered is sharper. I think it's cleaner, it's sharper, and a little bit more forward. I think overall the Infinite is stronger. It's a little rounder and it's a little more naturally continuous. Now, at the same time, if you have the lane friction, if you have plenty of lane friction, I think the Altered's a monster. It can be clean and flippy, but it can also be really early, but still also flippy.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I think that the Altered is more dynamic, so the weight block seems to be more dynamic. So I feel like it can get forward very quickly, because it's more responsive. I feel like if I needed a ball to hook the most, I think if I hit them both with 500, I think for me the Altered would hook more because it's more responsive.
I would agree.
Here we go. I actually don't have those balls a million miles apart. The X1 is probably a little further down the lane for me than the Infinite, but I mean, I see the same idea out of it. with the way I bowl. Like, it's hard for me because I don't really have a ball speed. Like, my ball speed is kind of whatever I want it to be. So it's very difficult for me because I see that I can create similar shapes out of the Infinite and the X1, but without bowling with them at exactly the same time, it would be very difficult for me because obviously the RG and the X1 is way higher.
Yeah.
But I don't really see that much of a difference. Now, Barnes does. Because
the X1 has also got micro tracks on it, which I think NEX/Extreme Tracks, whatever else, is a little cleaner than micro tracks. So like if you take the Idol versus the Idol Helios, even though the Helios cover is technically stronger, I think it's also cleaner. The Idol starts up a little bit, it gets a little bit more dig earlier and blends into the pattern more. And I think that that's kind of the earlier dig of micro tracks on the X1 kind of offsets the lower RG of the Infinite a little bit, and so they kind of create similar shapes, like you were saying. I could see I can see that.
Yeah, I actually think that the Idol might be the most versatile ball of all time because when it was dull, that thing was early.
Yeah,
and it was smooth, and then you shined it, and it was like way long and way sideways.
Yeah.
So that ball, that cover, it felt like they could have released one in blue and one in pink, and if they shined the blue one, you would have had no idea they were the same ball.
Exactly.
So it's definitely interesting. We've definitely got a few new pieces. This is the first time in my memory that we've seen so much movement in the Storm lines, just kind of because it was forced.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of excited where we're going. They cleared out quite a few pieces, obviously because of the USBC's decision. Some of which have been directly replaced. Wolverine Dark Moss.
Yeah.
Others, we've gone in slightly different directions. I'm sure that people are going to be a little disappointed that we haven't seen a direct replacement for the UFO alert. I think that that's probably the one that I would say of all the balls, that was the one that was probably felt the most on the PBA.
Yeah.
For me personally, the biggest miss was the Phase 4.
Yeah.
I'd really grown to love the Phase 4. But did you know that the Phase 3 hadn't been discontinued?
Yeah. No, and that's the thing.
Blew my mind when I saw it on the website.
It's very quietly been in the line for a while now, and I think it's still selling well because I like it quite a bit on both sides with whatever different layout. I like that quite a bit. And the most recent one that I got was just, I think it's looking like May 5th of 22. Now that I'm looking at it, is the inspection date. And so they're still making batches of them. And I heard something crazy, like when it came out, 3 months worth of Phase 3 sales outsold. There was higher than 3 years worth of Phase 2 sales. So it was hugely popular when it came out, and it must still be popular enough because they're still making batches of them. Of course, they offered it as one of the replacement balls, and that's the whole situation we were talking about. So that's probably part of it. But at the same time, I think they're still selling. So
it's funny that me and you keep saying the situation. It sounds like when you were in England and you were speaking about the troubles in Ireland. Right. I'm sure talking about the Cosmos, could it be close to Daredevil original? No, not really. Not for me. The original Daredevil was way down there.
Quite a bit cleaner.
I would say that a hyped Pearl would probably be closer to the original Daredevil, although a hyped hybrid probably.
The shape of the hyped hybrid is closer, I think.
That ball's way stronger than I think it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. And it's quite a bit different from the hyped Pearl too, which is interesting given that it's just Pearl and hybrid. I see the shapes completely different. Like the Pearl's very round and kind of almost IQ Emerald-ish, and then you have the hybrid, which is kind of Daredevil, Wrecker, Punch Out, stuff like that.
Okay, let's quickly. We've had a few questions come in that I've just ignored, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do that.
All right, Anthony Moore. So, real talk, is the Cosmos dull kind of like the second coming of the Daredevil trick? Nope. The Daredevil trick was one of the slowest balls I've ever thrown. That was the closest thing. Oh, no, it's probably not even really like the closest thing I've seen. What was that global black and blue ball? C4?
Yeah, the Ordnance C4.
Yeah.
That's a Daredevil. That's
Yeah.
a Daredevil trick type of thing.
If you leave that one with a lot of surface, that one could get very forward and be like that. So if you can find one of those, I think that's the closest thing to a Daredevil trick. I use polish. Sorry, I think I've already covered this. I use the Extra Shine product. I actually got Extra Shine, and I got what's the other one called? Reactor Shine.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Extra Shine wasn't shinier than Reactor Shine.
It's supposed to be.
Well, it's not though. Like Reactor Shine is Extra Shine, except it's cleaner and polish.
Yeah.
So I got both, thinking that I had two grades of polish when I don't really.
Oh no, one's a cleaner and polish, and one's just a polish.
Yeah, so now I've got two bottles of basically the same thing. So that was good times. That's what happens when you're just bowl and you don't really read anything. And most of the time when you polish, you get something go, oh my god, there's no polish left. Which is pretty much what happens every week on tour. So we might use some motive polish, or we might use some. Basically, when you're bowling on tour, if you're going for polish, it's because you're desperate. So you don't really care what it is. Vice polish is another thing that we've used. Thanks to Cecil, he throws some in there. I used Extra Shine on a 2000 pad. That's an interesting way of doing it. Barnes. The Cosmos looks like the All Road was for the High Road line. How does the cover on the Cosmos compare to Storm's NRG? There you go. It's a similar color.
Yeah. It's NRG or NEX, which is basically Extreme Tracks, is a kind of an evolution of NEX. It's a super high nano load, but they've tweaked something about the formula that makes it a little bit cleaner and a little bit more responsive, while still being kind of the diggy microtracks, NRG, whatever else type of look. So it is kind of the Cosmos. That's kind of a good comparison. The All Road having NRG hybrid on it, big cover, kind of weakish core, and this is a big cover on a big symmetric core. But yeah, it's kind of the All Road is to the High Road line what the Idol Cosmos and Helios really kind of are to the Idol line.
Yeah, it's funny because the solid High Roads never really work very well.
No. Yeah, if it's Pearl or hybrid, I think the Night Road coming up is going to be pretty cool. Because
I've actually already thrown the Night Road because they have them in Europe. So I threw my dad's. Now his was a 15, but she had wheels.
Yeah.
She went down the lane.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Is the Cosmos a better reaction? Yes, I feel like it's got that more rounded shape. I feel like that the Helios kind of hooks and stops. I didn't really see that out of the original Idol.
Yeah.
Barry says good info. We're still talking about 4K fast. Yeah. No 3000. Okay.
Oh, okay. So
I mean, 3000 and 4000 are like hitting it with cotton wool anyway. So
yeah. You might as well just take your hand and kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about the shiny Cosmos. Yeah, I like the shiny Cosmos. Are you big on 4K fast? It seems like Luke kind of likes it. I don't really like it. Just because I probably use more shiny balls than everybody else because I like using slower speeds. And I
really like doing that on the right side of the lane because I like using shiny and speed control. But again, here on the left, if it's shiny, it looks terrible unless it's a huge cover. So
you got your pitch black working yet?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Urethane for life. I'm going to go get a tattoo.
Extra shine. Cosmos versus Zen Soul. Barnes has the Zen Soul being quite a bit stronger. I don't really understand the Zen Soul so far for me. I watch my wife's, and hers really revs up and hooks down the lane.
Yeah.
So far, the two that I've drilled in the 16, it's kind of really smooth for me, and I was expecting it. For me, this is the way I described it. In my bag, it's way more Zen Master than it is Zen, and I wanted it to be way more Zen than Zen Master. So that's another one that's gone. That one that one got shipped out in the dead of the night. I didn't notice that one disappear.
Yeah, that one disappeared, and people were worried about the Proton too because it disappeared off the site for a little while, but now it's back. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. But yeah, I do have a video of the Cosmos versus the Zen Soul and the Zen up that my wife was throwing, and for her, fortunately enough, the Soul is more Zen than Zen Master. Hers is probably, I think, closer to what your wife's is. It really does rev up and punch down lane, and I think if we took them to the same surface, the Zen and the Zen Soul, they'd almost be. I mean, the Soul's going to be a pinch earlier and a little bit smoother, but they're kind of on top of each other almost, at least for Angel.
Yeah, I wish. Like for me, I shined my Zen Soul up, and it still didn't really do what it didn't. It didn't fit like kind of where I wanted it. I wanted it where I find myself tricking the Zen to use it earlier in the block.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be able to just use the Zen Soul and then go into the Zen, and I couldn't create that same shape. No, not for me.
Yeah, it's a ball up, and that's the other thing is that I was mentioning that in another video I've either got coming out or that I already did is that the cover on the Cosmos is quite a bit stronger than the cover on the UC2. So the UC2 is cleaner and whippier, but I think it's also weaker despite being in asim versus symmetric. This cover is so big that I think it gets a lot more dig than the UC2 does.
My Soul feels a decent bit smoother than the Zen. Yeah. That's kind of where I sit. All right, Luke. Well, thanks for your time. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Doing the experiment with putting it onto YouTube at the same time. I didn't do this for a long time because it kind of screwed up everything with monetizing the videos and everything else.
Yeah.
But now we're not really uploading much of our shows onto YouTube, so it doesn't really matter. We've actually got, for those wondering, we've got about 190 people watching right now.
Yeah.
And 120 of those are coming from the YouTube channel. So that's good to see. Thanks for showing out. Let us know if you like being able to watch it on YouTube as well. We are always experimenting and trying things and trying not to screw up the algorithm and piss it off and all the rest of things. So, do you have any shout outs, Luke? I know that you have your YouTube channel. He has Rosdahl 10 as a cool wit code, but don't use it. Use Beef Stew 10. And then you have a Patreon.
Yeah, I've got a Patreon too, and we got a big Discord channel that's linked with that, and it's a pretty good community. All that stuff is in the description of my videos, and of course, I'm sitting here looking like a NASCAR driver with all my sponsors and everything. And
man, I wish I had one of our shirts kicking around here. We had everybody's been teasing us. The thing that was really funny about it was I did video shirts where I put all of the logos on the back. So I did mine, and on like this shoulder, it's got the Beef and Barnzy like stamp, and on this side, it's got the Beef Stew stamp.
Yeah.
So I get with Gerald, and I'm like, "Hey, I need some shirts for Barnes. Basically, do the same thing, just with his logos." Cool.
Yeah, we've seen what happened with that.
I've got unlimited fun out of the fact that he's got a Beef Stew stamp on his shirt.
Oh yeah, that too.
Like I'm gonna send Gerald the best Christmas present for that.
Yeah.
And Barnes is just like, after a while, he's just like, yeah, screw it, I don't care.
Yeah.
So that's one of our that's one of the funniest parts of doing the shirts, like when you don't look exactly how it came out and they don't think about it, and then you're like, oh, whoops. But
oh well.
Yeah, so check that out. And also let me know, do you think that me and Chris should start a Discord channel? Would you be interested? Is it something that you would like? What would you like to see out of it? We are thinking about doing that, and then also we are also thinking about doing some coaching style things, but I think that we're probably going to do one-offs rather than 1 year subscriptions. So let us know what you think about that. We'll probably be doing something where it would be like an online course. So let us know. Do you have any ideas of how we'd best do that? Send us an email at beefandbarnzy@gmail.com if you've got any ideas. Yeah, we will see you in the next one. How'd you say it, Luke? What's your sign-off line for your YouTube videos?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.
So there you go. All right, guys, take it easy. See you later.
See ya.
Yeah. Barnes always does this bit.